Hey, John. I was starting to think that nobody was going to show up today. We haven't talked in a long time. I enabled chat, so why don't you just say hi in chat and let me know that you can hear me. And then if so, I'll talk to you about whether or not you want me to bring you into the Hangout. I just posted something in chat. Excellent. Okay. So I'm guessing you can't hear me. Okay, so the deal with this webinar system, John, is I can keep people here in chat, which is good for large groups, or I can just bring you into the Hangout. It is built on top of Google Hangouts, so as long as you have a Google ID and a webcam and a microphone, you'll be able to come into the Hangout. And I know you use Hangouts. We talk in Hangouts all the time. So if you're ready, I'll add you. And then it's a little slower than joining a Hangout normally. It goes through a couple extra steps, so just be patient. But you'll be pulled in eventually. Does that sound good? I'm just going to assume yes. For any reason this fails, you can just come back into the Hangout. You can just come back into the webinar. All right, here I go. Oh, okay. All right, sounds good to you. Okay, there we go. Oh, that's weird. I'm clicking the button and nothing is happening. Uh-oh. Well, let's try this a different way. This has never happened before. It must be because you're on the call, John. It is not letting me pull you in. I wonder if I can just invite you.
So anyway, that was one.
Okay, I just sent you an email invite into the Hangout. Why don't you see if you can get into that? Since we're already in Google Circles together. Yeah, that worked.
Hey, Will, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm great. I'm at Army with high school kids building wheelchair ramps.
Cool, sounds like a good program. What's going on?
Oh, nothing really. I was taking my lunch break and saw the webinar thing, and I'd seen you've done these many times, but I've never been on one, so I thought, well.
Yeah, and we usually only get about 1 to 2 people, so it's a great deal for whoever comes on. They like get to pick my brain for an hour. And I've worked with people that are technologically literate, and I've coached people that are just volunteers all the way up to being able to work with their website. So it's rewarding for me. So I'm happier when somebody comes on the call, other than not coming on the call.
Well, yeah, these get really boring if nobody else is there, I'm sure.
Yeah, I could talk at myself for an hour. That probably wouldn't be
I'm really excited to be here. Thank you for being here. Yes.
So I could pick your brain. There are probably some questions I could ask you, being one of our oldest customers.
Well, I may be one of your customers the longest, but maybe not your oldest customer.
Yeah, I'm sure we have older customers.
Maybe not. I don't know.
So we haven't quite figured out how to sell Aboundant yet. We've tried a few things, and we're just kind of limping along. Like, I'm paying the bills, but we haven't figured out how to make it take off.
Right.
And the latest thing that we're trying is we created Aboundant boot camps, which we piloted last year, but I'm hoping to bring it to more like United Methodist conferences. But it's basically a one-day seminar workshop where you show up and you leave with a site and you know how to use it.
Huh.
So that's our newest thing. We just launched it. So we'll see if there are any conferences. I sent out an email to all 104 conference communicators yesterday, and then realized, oh, they're all a jurisdictional conference.
Yeah, most of them will be this week. Yeah.
I should have waited a week. But yeah, anything like about our pricing or our features or
Well,
where you think we should position ourselves?
I mean, obviously, I'm. I think you've got a great product, or else we would have parted ways, a year or so ago. But the problem is, you're struggling up against things like, Wix, which is like, oh, it's free for a crappy website, and people who don't have a website don't know the difference between a good website and a crappy website.
We lost a client to Wix recently. This is the only expired accounts. This is the only customer we truly lost. And he just went and created a Wix. He had a volunteer create the original site for him. And instead of trying to come to this webinar and learn how to use it, he created a Wix site. And it looks way crappier than the site that he had before.
Well, sure.
Yeah.
And the Divi thing, it takes some work on my side to learn the stuff to be able to make it look the way I want to. And, the default layouts and everything that come with Divi. And of course, now the trick is that after I started using the Divi stuff with y'all, I went ahead and got a Divi account for my other stuff that I work with. And so I use their stuff on my wife's professional site and on my side sites and everything else. So for me, it's a lot different than, your standard user, if that makes any sense.
So you know that they're about to launch their front end editor?
Yeah. Which
I'm excited about, because that's one of the features that we don't have that a lot of our competitors have. And I knew that it was something they were looking at when we decided to roll the dice with Divi.
Right.
And I haven't been disappointed yet. And I think when they get the front end editor together, it'll make a huge difference.
Yeah, I expect so. But the challenge I think you're going to have, what you've probably already dealt with, is, why should I go with you guys when, I can, if I'm going to go with Divi, I can, sign up for a web host for, $5 a month.
Yeah.
And, I think that the idea of having the seminar, you show up and we'll work together for, a day. And when you leave, your church has a website. I think that's an awesome idea.
Yeah, we still have Launchpad. That's the one thing we have that nobody else has. But I don't know I probably haven't done a good job of marketing it. We don't have a demo video that shows how it works. Always wanted to do that. But yeah, that's the thing with Wix. Wix isn't going to help you get your initial site up. You're going to have to figure out the Wix system, and you're going to have to build it but we'll actually get your first draft of your site up for you really fast with Launchpad.
Right.
After that, then there's a learning curve, unfortunately, with Aboundant, which is why we've created these webinars actually to help kind of manage that learning curve.
Right. And I think to help people understand, the webinars aren't just, hey, I've got this canned training thing that I'm going to run through.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a, because that's what a lot of people, when they see webinars, think is, okay, this guy, because I've done webinars with lots of folks. It's been, okay, you log on and the guy talks and runs through his thing. And then it's like, okay, well, thanks for coming. Come back next week and we'll talk about, you know, how to change the color of the background.
Yeah, that's a good point. Maybe we shouldn't call it a webinar. Maybe that's
Because,
too
you know,
loaded of a term.
quite honestly, one of the reasons I haven't is because, you know, there was never a topic posted. It was just, hey, we have a webinar. And if I hadn't been at lunch today and just had the thing pop up on Facebook, hey, we're starting the webinar in a few minutes, and I thought, well, I've never seen one of their webinars. Let's click on there. I was way surprised to find just you to talk to.
Yeah. Well, you could get me anytime you wanted.
Well, I know that, but you know, I
In
thought,
this,
you know, well,
yeah, this is nice.
wow, what are they going to teach in this webinar today?
Yeah.
And so,
If there was an agenda and it wasn't you, I'd basically say, hey, let's take a look at your site, and I would critique it for you, and then show you how to fix things that I think, you know, have room for improvement, which we could still do actually.
well, we
I
might
think
if I
there's
wasn't
probably a
on
couple
an
things.
iPad and, you know, wandering the building with, you know, really bad Wi-Fi connection.
Oh, geez. So we're working. So I've always done this. I never just wanted to do church websites. I always wanted to do user-centric church management software that was kind of seamlessly integrated with the website. And we finally started to work on one of those projects.
Yeah.
It is a volunteer management system, which we're calling HelpSpring, which is, we're going to offer it to Aboundant customers, so you'll get it automatically.
Okay.
And we're going to sell it as a WordPress plugin, and we're going to have a standalone service that you can subscribe to for it. And the thing that makes it different than the other, because there are other options out there, is it's not based on events, it's based on needs. All the systems that are out there are based on events. So if you just want to recruit volunteers, or if you have an ongoing need, it doesn't work in the current systems.
Right.
And so, at least not for churches. So we're kind of excited about that. We started working on it 2 months ago. We're hoping to have an alpha version of it by the end of the summer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so you look out for that. I'd love to get your take on it. I know you've been using how's the other church plugins that you've been using? How have those worked out? Groups Engine.
The groups thing I never have actually used.
Okay.
I subscribed to all three of them because it was like, you know, you get one for $79 or all three for $99. I'm like, well,
yeah, right.
Let me get all three of them. And I like the prayer engine deal because, you know, we can post to different prayer walls and have a private one and a public one and that kind of thing. And it works fairly well. All of these are done by a guy who's more of a programmer than a user.
Yeah.
So there's a lot more back end work than I like, because, you know, in my world I should be there and enter 4 things and hit enter and leave and not have to spend 30 minutes.
Yeah.
The series engine it's a great idea, but again, you know, if I'm posting, you know, if I'm doing my web stuff and I've recorded the service, I'm putting it on my blog, I'm putting it on the what's the stupid thing called? Spreaker.
Oh, Spreaker. That's
the blog posting thing. then I don't want to have to re-enter all the information again in a different program to get it up on the website. And it's easier to get the Spreaker plugin and stick it on my site than it is to then stick all the stuff in again.
Hey, you know,
yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, since you made that request about what's the best blogging or like webcasting software to put in, I've actually learned something useful. And that is, and I don't know if this was always true, this may be a newer thing, but WordPress actually creates category feeds, news feeds on the category level. And so with those services or with iTunes or whatever, there is actually just a feed address you can give it, and you can just have a normal post and just categorize it as sermon. And then I haven't tested this out, but and then you could just give that feed to iTunes or to Spreaker or to Blueberry or one of those as your feed. Or you could just promote that address as your feed and let people figure it out on their and I thought we'd have to code that. I actually had that in my development cycle, like, oh, let's make an easy plugin that basically picks up a feed for a category, and already it does it by default. It's just not well known.
Yeah, I mean, and that might be something, because, you know, at this point, you know, anything that could be done to make it easier is good. You know, it has to go through iTunes, because that's the only way most people are going to be able to subscribe to it and all that kind of stuff, because most folks don't have, you know, and don't want to have to load down a new program to do your web hosting, you know, and all that when they're the consumer end. So, you know, for my people, they do okay with iTunes subscriptions because they got the phone and it's easy.
Yeah.
You know, and so as long as you can get the feed that always works with iTunes, you know, the challenge that I've seen is, and that's one that the plugin that we were using, that series engine, had an issue. The iTunes folks changed a thing where used to you didn't have to put whether it had adult material or not unless it had adult material. Then you say, yes, I have adult material. Then they decided, okay, now you have to actively say, no, we don't have adult material.
Yeah.
Well, the engine wasn't spitting that part out. And so for, I don't know, 6 months, none of the stuff was automatically feeding to iTunes. And that was the problem I was having with the update. The update was supposed to correct that. And, you know, y'all tried to update it. I tried to update it. It worked 36 different ways. It didn't work. And then they finally came out with the update. And I finally got a hold of the guy directly, which was a challenge because he only has email, and the email isn't listed on the website. Not aggravating at all, by the way. You know, so when I finally got a hold of him, he said, oh, well, yeah, here's the new one, and this one will fix that. So then finally I was able to get you guys a link, and yeah, it was boom, your guy did it.
Yeah.
It's fine now. But, you know, to have a plugin that could just take my post and send that in would be amazing.
I think it would actually work. I think you could set it up. We haven't tested it out yet. I just know that I just found the place in the codex where it says that the category feed exists.
Yeah, and I'm sure I could probably make it work.
Yeah.
But there again, kind of why I pay you guys.
Yeah, true. Yeah, we could. Yeah, we could bridge that somehow. You still have to do all kinds of subscriber stuff on iTunes, so it's not going to be a like a 3-step process, but
no. But if y'all did the legwork to figure out how it worked,
yeah,
and
true.
then even just put together a little video that says, hey, if you want to do that, here's a way through the steps. You know, because then I can go, okay, I can do a 5-minute video or whatever to walk through the steps. Otherwise, I've got to start doing it. Whereas I can sit down and figure it out. I'm guessing most of your clients don't have my background.
Yeah, they don't actually. But we like having a good array of clients to show us where our system needs to improve.
You know, and quite honestly, Will, you know, when you talk about the church management system, you know, the struggle I'm going to have with jumping on board with it is, you know, I've already got all my church stuff, all my people in one system. Now do I have to enter it into another one to make this work? And then how do I sync up these? You know, we get new people join next week. Now I got to enter them in my finance system and in your system. And, you know, it's a nightmare.
So the way that we want it to work is we want it to be user-centric and not administrator-centric. So you would post a need. I think we're actually going to call them acts, a need for an act. And then you just put that up on your website, and then people would look at those, and then they would register for the system when they found something they wanted to participate in, and we'd make that painless for them, and then they'd be in the system. Or you could very easily sign them up for something, and then we would do all the like user creation stuff on the back end, and it would send them a notification, and then if they wanted to update their own stuff, they could on their own without you having to go in and make any kind of changes for them.
Sure. Yeah. And I like the idea. It's just, okay, so now, I mean, and here I am, you know, trashing something I don't know anything about, and I'm not trying to do that. Understand this. Okay.
Oh, sure. Yeah, we want good critique.
You know, I'm using, what was it, Planning Center Online, which I don't know if you've looked at that or not.
I don't think so.
That's what we started using when we started planning our worship stuff. It brings in all the musicians. It lets people, you know, we have all our membership and everything in there. They have modules for groups, for finance, for all kinds of stuff. And it started out as, you know, just a way to organize the worship services and to plan them out and let all the musicians be able to log in and see what songs are coming up next week. And they've expanded it out with registration for like childcare and trips and things like that.
Yeah.
And they added a groups module, then they have a people module. And when you start doing it, much like Google, it kind of sucks you into their ecosystem.
Yeah.
You know,
Ecosystem
now,
is a good word.
Right. And you know, now when I have somebody that registers their child for the very first time at childcare, I start building my database on their whole family.
Yeah.
And then when they update it, it's not just updated in my groups thing, finance deal, it's updated in my volunteer groups, it's updated everywhere. And, you know, even if your system makes it easy for folks to log in and sign in and change stuff, that's not going to help my, you know, looking at it and going, okay, they signed in for this. How many times have they been in worship? Because they have an attendance module.
So this is a problem in the church management software world that's been solved in the web world. And so basically, if you have a good application in the web world, it interfaces with the other things you need it to interface with. And you may have to pay a little extra for that, but they've already thought of it. Like, you know, one service I need it to interface with another service. It's already set up that way. You know, everything has an API, but in the church management software world, they're all very insular. Like like you said, once you're in their ecosystem, at least with Google, you can integrate Google into a lot of things.
Right. And you know, in my world, I would prefer to have everything through Google stuff because I'm already there most of the time. You know, most of my people have Gmail accounts and all that. It just makes it easier. But like you say, I wasn't able to find one based on Google stuff.
Yeah.
And these folks slowly built theirs. Now they have a lot of APIs. I don't know if they have what their deal to integrate with somebody else's system is. But
Maybe on Rails. Yeah, I don't know. There's not a lot of information about their API, but there's, sometimes APIs are just one direction,
right,
just the inbound direction, because then you still keep people in your ecosystem, but allow other things to come in, but then you don't let anything out.
right.
So, with our volunteer management system, one of the first modules we were thinking about making, it'd probably be a paid module, but would be a Google Calendar module, so that if you did want to attach events to your needs at your church, you could just easily promote it to Google Calendar, or to the events calendar. That was the other one, of course, since we use the events calendar.
Right. I know one of the ways that the Planning Center folks help people make the transition is they start out with a subscription model just for planning worship services. And you could have so many people in their database of volunteers, and this guy plays guitar and he's scheduled for Sunday. This other guy plays guitar, he's doing next Sunday, and you can schedule like that. Then when they started doing these other modules, they weren't getting many people crossing over to it because, hey, it's more money. They don't really integrate that well. So they made their people module, which, is their membership management thing, free. And then that made that once you start entering all their data in there, then it was easier for them to sell, hey, you've already got everybody's data in people. So how about a $5 a month subscription to be able to do all the group stuff? How about, here's a $10 a month subscription to be able to do registration for the kids when they check in at youth group or at Sunday school or at whatever.
Yeah.
And now you can start generating your reports. Hey, they haven't been in worship in 3 weeks. Spit out something that'll tell me that so I can give them a call. So the people database being free, I was willing to give that a shot. And then I've added things over the course of the last year or so because it was stuff I needed. Plus I've already got all the people entered in the computer.
And I'm not even sure if these are the kinds of systems that I think are worthwhile. I don't know if I want to compete with this type of system. I want stuff that is social, like not in the buzzword sense of social, Silicon Valley sense of social, things that are easily shareable and that are people driven and not organized on the back end. But I don't know. We'll do the volunteer management system and we'll see how that goes. But if somebody like you, okay, so somebody volunteers, will you want them to be automatically populated into people into Planning Center using Planning Center's API? So that could be an addition that we could make. And then I'm sure they would allow data to flow that way. And so, yeah, it's possible until they, of course, make their own solution. I don't know.
Right, which they may already have. I'm excited. I don't know that I use everything they do. I mean, they have resource management and everything else.
Yeah.
But I haven't made the jump to because I'm like, no, I don't need that.
Yeah, resource management. There's a company in my town that does software for resource management, but really big churches probably need that. They need to keep track of when things have been done last on their boilers, and I don't know.
Right. And I have 18 projectors on carts. I need them for these classes.
Yeah, right.
You can't check out number 17. It's already checked out this time.
Yeah.
It's that kind of stuff, which, my church isn't big enough to worry about that today. And so I'm not going to mess with it today. And you know, but that's the same with a lot of these other things.
Yeah.
Do I really need a full volunteer management system online when, you know, I worship only about 200 people and my folks all know each other? No, I don't. But I shouldn't say that. No, the church doesn't. I do. I need access to it because I don't know these people. I'm, you know, I've been here less than 2 years, or just 2 years now. So, you know, it's, and I'm not trying to discourage you. I think that you got a good thought on this thing going. I'm just afraid that, you know, you're running up against guys who already got lots in place, and
Sure.
you know, it's going to be a lot of work.
Yeah. Well,
To convince people
our
to try it.
software is probably going to be secularized too. I mean, it's going to be in the WordPress repository.
Right.
So we're going to be in that ecosystem, so to speak. Yeah. And there is a need for whatever kind of systems you're using to integrate seamlessly with your website.
Right.
I just don't see that. I don't see that on. So it's Planning Center. So you have any, are you using it on the website at all? Is there any integration of it on your Angleton site?
No. And they don't have I mean, from what I've seen, I haven't seen any plugins or any kind of way to do that easily. You know, there's some things that are neat, like it'll post, you can tell it to automatically post the songs that are coming up for Sunday to Facebook and Twitter.
Oh, cool.
You know, on Friday, so that, you know, that goes out to everybody and go, oh, I don't like that song, I ain't coming.
Is that what they say?
Well, I don't know, but I mean, you know, there's sometimes, you know, if I pop that up in my feed and it says nothing but the blood, I know I'm not going that Sunday. I hate that song.
Oh gosh, I hate that too.
So, but you know, it's, you know, so they do some things, but nothing to where it would be easy to just go, hey, let me pop this onto page on my website and then run everything through it. None of the sign up and all that. It's all, you know, when we do the sign-ups for the kids, you know, people show up for the nursery. It's all done through an app on an iPad that feeds into their system. One of the things they do is they have a program called Projector, which is essentially like PowerPoint, and we can do all of our planning and everything else online, and then I don't have to create the whole set of slides for Sunday, because since they've already got all the music stuff in there, it generates the slides, and I can just run that off an iPad. But
yeah, having your presentation software be part of the package is nice.
Yeah, I mean, it helped us. You know, we were doing oh, what was the big one? I don't remember, but it had a steep learning curve, and this one isn't as good, but I don't have to spend another hour a week putting all the stuff together for the worship service, because once we've planned it and stuck the songs into place, you know, it automatically generates and we're done.
I'm sending my friend Tim a note about Planning Center. It used to be Tim and I would always we would always evaluate every single new church management software piece that came on the market. But since I've been running Aboundant, I've been just letting him do that. He might have already looked at it. We'll have to see. Usually he reports back to me, but I can't keep up with all of them. Yeah.
So Aboundant's paying the bills, but it's not really.
Yeah, we haven't figured out how to. And we haven't figured out digital marketing. We know how to do it, but it's deceptively harder than it looks. It looks like magic when you see it happen online.
Right.
but it actually takes a lot of hard work to get the machine going and to basically use analytics to see what's actually working, and you have to do a lot of adjusting.
Sure.
So haven't quite figured that out. What we have figured out is we do agency work now too. And so that's actually what's paying most of the bills. And so I've actually done some consulting work already for Texas Annual Conference. Not a lot,
so
but
all those folks.
Yeah. And the project that I worked on got hung up in finance and has never been finished. Like,
not right.
They wanted an easy way to charge people for Berkman testing, which I guess you guys use in your Healthy Church Initiative.
Right.
And so I set it up for them, but I'm like, hey, you're going to have to set up either a Stripe or a PayPal account with, for the conference. And then finance wouldn't approve it. So it just got stopped there, the whole project. Which I think I told them up front, like that's usually the stumbling point for a project like this. They don't want PayPal or Stripe.
Right. We don't want to lose 2.4%. We'd rather lose all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, that's the problem. I mean, I cannot tell you the number of meetings I've had in my church over that exact same thing.
It's ridiculous. There is evidence. There are reports that you can cite where giving has gone up at a church overall.
Oh, every time.
Yeah.
Every time. I've never found any church that got online stuff set up and promoted it and didn't see a 10 to 40% increase in giving. Never. And I'm one of the senior consultants for the Vibrant Church Initiative, our version of the Healthy Church Initiative.
Yeah, okay.
So, I go around and talk to churches all the time, and the thing I tell them, you have to have online giving because nobody younger than me carries a checkbook. And the only time I write a check is to the church or to my kids' school because we have a field trip that they have to go on. I said, but I have a checkbook that I'm still using that has my address from 2 churches ago because I haven't used all the checks yet.
Yeah, true for me too.
And they asked me, okay, so does your church do online giving? And I'm like, no. So why should we? I was like, because hopefully y'all are smarter than my people. Okay, maybe that'd be it.
I feel like a lot of my ministry is giving pastors the right words to lay out persuasive arguments to their churches for certain things that they need.
Yeah.
Oh, so get this. So we have a new pastor at I have a secondary, as a deacon, I have a secondary appointment at a local congregation. It's Trinity United Methodist Church here in Waverly. We got a new pastor 2 weeks ago, and I was slated to preach on her first day because she's moving from a long distance, so she wasn't going to be ready to preach. And it was the healing of Naaman passage, in the sending of the 70. And so I stuck with the lectionary, and I basically said, how can I use this? How can I subversively use this sermon in a way that the actual pastor could never use it? And so I basically gave a sermon about how you take care of your pastor and how you avoid conflict in the church, using those two passages, and said things like, hey, you need to do this and this and this with your pastor. Stuff that an actual pastor could never ask their congregation to do.
Right.
So it was a lot of fun.
You want to come to Texas and preach? I'll set you up for a Sunday.
I'm okay at it, but I don't. I try to stick with my main ministry as much as I can.
I know, but if you're coming down here to do something for the conference anyway.
Yeah. I do have a friend who lives in Edinburgh, way down south.
Yeah, no, that's hundreds of miles from Houston.
Yeah, but I would have to go through Houston on my way there.
Well, that's true. Yeah. Yeah, there's probably not a direct flight from where you are to Edinburgh.
Yeah. No, I don't think so. Well, if I could get Texas to do a boot camp, I don't know, your conference is so spread out, it might be harder to accomplish there.
Well, it probably would. It might be, the way typical things work in our conference is We offer them in Houston because that's where 60% of our churches are in that Houston area.
Yeah.
And then we offer them up north in Tyler or Longview or Texarkana.
I have an aunt in Tyler too. I should have mentioned that.
Oh yeah.
She's a little crazy though. So we don't get out to visit her very much.
You know, it depends on what you're putting together. I mean, I would start with a Houston one, and then judging interest, might set one up at our summer camp site. We have a summer camp. Well, it's year-round conference center that's up in northeast Texas. That's where most the folks know. Everybody knows where it is, and the folks from up north would much rather go to Lakeview than to go to Houston.
Okay. As long as they have good internet. That's all I need.
Depends on your version of good.
Okay.
It's one of those that when we were up there for camp 2 weeks ago, we were getting, what was it? Anywhere from 18 to 20 down. So it's not terrible, but you wouldn't want to let everybody and their uncle try to get online at the same time.
Yeah.
So that might not be a good choice. But
it'd work if you could keep all the background streaming stuff out. Like my
Right.
computer backs up in the background. That
Right.
takes a lot of bandwidth. I always have to
Yeah.
turn it off when I don't have a lot of bandwidth.
Yeah, mine does the same thing. I'll be like, why is it going so slow? It's like,
Oh,
that's why. Dropbox
it's sending
is
all my data to the cloud.
trying to save those last 2 gigs I stuck on there just today, and they're doing it all at once.
We've looked into doing daily backups on Aboundant. The entire network gets backed up daily, so we're covered from any kind of catastrophic thing, or if we break it somehow.
Right.
But we looked into doing backups for individual churches, and there is a system out there, but it's really expensive. The pricing doesn't scale, which is what we would need to rely on.
Sure. Well, I mean, there are enough backup plugins that people can
True.
add to do it.
Yeah.
Um,
It's true we could give people a backup plugin, but I'm not sure we would want them archiving. Most of them will let you archive to a directory that you're already in, which would just put their archives on our network.
Kind of defeats the point.
Yeah, it does. It does.
It's like, oh yeah, but your whole computer died, but it took the backup with it. Congratulations.
And that's the problem. We like to curate every piece of software we put on the system, but we don't want to hack it at the same time.
Right.
So we want to give it to you as it is so that it can be updated and you get the updates as they happen, but we don't want to give you something that sucks.
Right.
Our donations plugin, Seamless Donations, was the developer for it basically asked for somebody to take it over, and we volunteered, but somebody else had volunteered before us and got it, and they essentially just ruined the plugin, which is we haven't actually updated it on our system for a long time because it worked perfectly the way it was.
Right.
And so this is the first case where we're actually thinking about forking the plugin. We're going to take it and we're going to make our own version of it. And then if there are any updates that need to be made to it, we'll do that ourselves down the road.
Well, see, and for me, that was one of the ones, I mean, I looked at that one at first, and then we were looking at some other stuff, and I didn't like the looks of it. in comparison, it wasn't as editable as far as aesthetics.
Yeah.
And it looked good on an iPad. It looked good on an iPhone. It didn't look good on a website. It looked cheap to me.
Yeah, I actually did restyle it at some point. I did that myself. Because I agree, it didn't look as smooth. It didn't have a nice flat design like everything else.
Right.
And so I actually restyled it in our child theme. Our child Divi theme that you have has the styling for it. And so if you were to install it today, it would look differently. It looked like it does on the main demo site, which is a nicer, cleaner look.
Right.
I still think the functionality is perfect for most churches, though. You get to say if you want it to be a memorial, you get to add a designated fund, you get to choose whether you want it to be a one-time or a recurring donation.
Right.
It is kind of limited with PayPal, but
yeah, and that was the other thing. If we were already going to have a Stripe account, then the PayPal account.
Yeah.
It was like.
I think Stripe might.
And
I'm not sure, but Stripe may be an option for it now too. I'm not entirely sure. So that's one of the things that did get added later by the other developer, and I'm not sure whether we were still updating at that point or not.
Right.
I'd have to go and look, but
I think right now we actually have probably pretty much settled on Vanco, simply because we'll deposit the money directly into our account, which takes a step away from it gets sent to PayPal and people have given, but then you've got to request that PayPal send it to us.
Yeah, that's always the problem with PayPal. That Stripe is much better. With Vanco, my last church has Vanco. My church names.
And I don't like their setup, but we didn't have to then retrain my finance people. They PayPal a couple of days, see if we could.
Yeah.
Just for us, that was the main stumbling block, was the look, and then the having to set up extra stuff that puts more work on people.
I wonder, getting PayPal to pay out the money that they owe you. They want you to think of them like an account when you just want them to be a payment service.
Right.
There is a way to do it, but PayPal hasn't made it easy. You have to go through like 5 extra. You have to set it up. It gets complicated.
Well, I never, maybe that's something different, but I was never able to find a way to get PayPal to just automatically pass through the money.
So you can't. Yeah. So you can have a basic PayPal account and you can have a corporate PayPal account. If you update your account to a corporate PayPal account, you get full control over the payment gateway and how it operates. And so at that point, you can actually have the payment gateway deposit directly to your bank account instead of going into holding.
And so what's that, $40 a month?
Style it completely the way you want. I think it's the same. It's still just a flat fee, but it's very complicated to set up. Like it took me a lot of effort to figure it out. So I can imagine it being, and then of course the damn Patriot Act made it twice as hard. There's like all kinds of personal information that you have to be willing to give now to have a corporate level PayPal or Stripe account. It's every system. You have to give them your social security number.
Right.
There's a law against you having to put your social security number on everything else except with your bank accounts. You now have to have a social security number.
Right. It's against the law to use social security number as a tracking instrument unless we tell you to, in which case then you have to.
I was disappointed to learn that, but so it is possible. Anyway, you should come back to another one of these some week. We can look at your site.
Oh, I will.
Talk some more.
I'll do that. And you know, if Tim's got any questions about if he looks at the planning center online
Yeah.
and wants to talk about who's actually using it, just tell him to give me a call. You know, I'm happy to talk about it.
Sounds great. I will do
But,
that.
Well, it was good to catch up with you. Glad
Yeah, you
to see
too.
you're still paying the bills at least. And,
Yeah, we're scampering by. Really, I feel like I'm just part of any other ministry.
that's right. Somehow it's still going. I don't know how, but I trust that Jesus wants it to keep going.
Yeah, exactly. All right. I'll talk to you later, John.
All right, well,
Bye.
bye.